Hi, I am Lalit Vasist. In this video, I will tell you what we mean by dimensions and how many dimensions are there. Get ready to experience the amazing world of 11 dimensions. I request you to watch this video till the end, as this video is going to be more and more interesting as we proceed. I know most of you are aware of first 3 or 4 dimensions. The first 3 dimensions are dimensions of space, that is length, width and height, while the fourth dimension is the time dimension. You will find it interesting that we have control over the first 3 dimensions of space, which are length, width and height. It means we can freely move in space in forward, reverse, up and down directions, but we have no control over the fourth dimension, that is the time dimension. We are only allowed to travel only in the forward direction in time dimension. Even if we could fully control only the first 4 dimensions, including the time dimension, we would become a person with supernatural powers, because then it would be possible for us to travel freely, not only in space but also in time, in both directions, that is, past and future, as per our wish. So just imagine how powerful a person would be if he or she could control all the 11 dimensions. Believe me, that person will actually be called the God, as he would have the potential to do the things that you cannot even imagine. So I think you are now ready to enter into the fascinating world of 11 dimensions. So let's discuss each dimension one by one. Zeroth dimension. Any object having zero dimension has no length, no width, and no height. A point is an example of zeroth dimension, as it has no length, no width, and no height or depth. Now let's see what is the first dimension. Any object in first dimension has only one dimension, that is the length. If we connect 2 points, then we get a line having only one dimension. So a line is an example of first dimension having no width and no height, but only the length dimension. Someone living in one-dimensional universe will only be allowed to move in the forward and reverse directions. There will be no existence of anything like left or right for him. Now we will discuss the second dimension. Flat figures like a square or triangle are two-dimensional objects. These two-dimensional or 2D objects have non-zero area, but their volume is zero, as there is no height. They have only 2 dimensions, length and width. So these are known as two-dimensional or 2D objects. A person living in a two-dimensional space can only move on a plane. In other words, he or she can only move in forward, reverse, and left-right directions, but not in up and down directions. So his life will be limited to a plane surface. Everything will be flat with zero height in such a universe. Some daily life examples of a two-dimensional world are screens of televisions and mobile phones. Although they appear to be a three-dimensional world, but actually this world inside these devices is confined to a flat screen having no depth or height. Third dimension. If we add height or depth to a two-dimensional object, it becomes a three-dimensional, that is, a 3D object. A three-dimensional object has non-zero volume. A cube or a sphere are geometrical examples of three-dimensional objects. We live in a three-dimensional world where we can move in any direction in space as per our wish. We are free to move in forward, reverse, up and down directions. Fourth dimension, the time. Time is considered the fourth dimension. As I just told you that we live in a three-dimensional world where we are free to move in any direction in space. But without the fourth dimension, that is the time dimension, no events can take place. Without time dimension, nothing will change in this world. Time is the way for 3 dimensions to change. It is the time dimension that allows the objects to change their position and location in space. Without time, the whole universe will look like a snapshot forever. As we are living in a three-dimensional world, so we have no control on the fourth dimension, the time. We are forced to move only in the forward direction with time. But a person living in four dimensions will be able to go in any direction in time, like past or future. He will have control over the time dimension as he is a person of four dimensions. So, these were the first four dimensions that can be perceived by humans. Now, we are going to discuss higher dimensions that we cannot perceive, although they exist. So let's start with the fifth dimension. Fifth dimension. As I just told you, that we cannot perceive dimensions that are higher than the fourth dimension because they exist on a subatomic level. These higher dimensions actually deal with the possibilities. But why we cannot perceive higher dimensions? Actually, these dimensions are curled in on themselves in a process known as compactification. But how these higher dimensions are imperceptible? Let me explain it by giving you a simple example. When we see a rope from large distance, we only observe its one dimension, that is the length. But any insect moving on that rope will also see other dimensions of the rope, like its thickness. It will also observe the fine grooves and roughness and circumference of the rope that could not be seen by a distant observer. If a person were living in a world of five dimensions, then he would be able to play with time in different ways. He could move either in past or in future. It would also be possible for him to be present at different locations at the same time. He would be able to do many jobs or can have many hobbies at the same time. He could be a doctor, an engineer, a poet, and anything else at the same time, as he has full control over the time dimension. Sixth dimension. Sixth dimension gives more powers to a person living in this dimension. He can not only move in any direction in time at his will, but also can take many forms at the same time, just like the quantum world. We know that the quantum world is the world of probabilities, where particles can be present at different places at the same time and can take different forms. So the sixth dimension gives more flexibility in comparison to the fifth dimension. In the sixth dimension, we enter into the world of parallel universes, that is, the concept of multiverse. This dimension will allow us to see all possible presents, pasts, and futures. But every universe present in this multiverse will have the same beginning as that of our universe, that is, the Big Bang. This is the limitation of this dimension. Seventh dimension. This dimension also includes the concept of parallel universes. Seventh dimension contains infinite number of universes. So a person living in seven dimensions can move in any universe and can have infinite forms of itself. The basic difference between the sixth and the seventh dimension is that the infinite universes in the sixth dimension had the condition that they all must have the same beginning as of ours, that is, the Big Bang. But the seventh dimension is free from this condition also. Seventh dimension can contain a plane of all possible universes with different start conditions. Universes present in this dimension may have originated from different possibilities. Eighth dimension. According to string theory, there will be no physical existence of any object that is present in the eighth dimension. So anyone living in this dimension would not be able to touch anything, nor it can be touched by anything or anyone, as nothing will have any physical existence. If you find it difficult to imagine, then you can understand it like the digital world that we are familiar with. The eighth dimension will contain a plane of all the possible presents, pasts, and futures for all the infinite number of parallel universes that are stretching up to infinity. Ninth dimension. Ninth dimension is again very interesting and unbelievable. In the ninth dimension, it is possible for many civilizations or aliens to live at the same place and at the same time without seeing and feeling the presence of other. That is, being completely unaware of the presence of the other. If someone is able to see, then he might be seeing all the civilizations and aliens living together at the same time, at the same place, smoothly and independent of each other. A person living in the ninth dimension will be able to move in any infinite number of universes, will have no physical form, will be able to move in all presents, pasts, and futures of any infinite number of universes that are extending to infinity. One different thing that will happen in the universe of the ninth dimension will be that these universes may have their own laws of physics and separate conditions and probabilities of their origin. 10th dimension. This dimension will contain infinite possibilities and would be infinitely complex to understand for us. A person living in the 10th dimension will have infinite powers. That person would be so powerful that he would be no other than the God itself, as he would be able to control space and time and everything present in any infinite number of universes. He would have all the powers that are possessed by the person living in other lower dimensions that we have already discussed. The possibilities for this dimension are infinite. Even those things are possible in this dimension that are beyond your imagination. 11th dimension. Friends, before describing the 11th dimension, let me tell you that according to string theory, there are 10 dimensions, while M theory says that there are total 11 dimensions. But according to bosonic theory, total number of dimensions may be up to 26. But scientists say that because of self-consistency, a universe cannot have more than 11 dimensions as they become unstable. Because of this instability, they collapse back down into 11 or 10 dimensions. So now let's come back to the 11th dimension. In the 11th dimension, everything imaginable or unimaginable is possible. In other words, you can say that there is nothing that cannot happen in the 11th dimension. According to M theory, the smallest thing in the universe is not atoms, electrons, Higgs boson, or quarks. The smallest thing is much smaller than all these subatomic particles. Actually, the smallest thing in the universe is strings. You may think why I am explaining the strings here. Actually, strings vibrate in the 11th dimension that we are going to discuss. Everything present in every universe of every dimension is made up of strings. All the atoms, subatomic particles, muons, quarks, Higgs bosons are made up of strings. You will be surprised to know that according to M theory, everything in the universe originated from the 11th dimension, not from the first, second, or third dimension. But what are these strings and how small they are? In physics, string theory is a theoretical framework in which the point-like particles of particle physics are replaced by one-dimensional objects called strings. According to the string theory, all the fundamental particles are actually tiny vibrating loops of string. Various properties of particles like mass and charge are determined by the vibrations of the one-dimensional string-like entities. The string theory describes how these strings propagate through space and interact with each other. Now let's come to the size of the string. The size of the string is about 10 to the power minus 33 centimeter. Let me tell you that 10 to the power minus 33 centimeter is actually millionth of a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a centimeter. Confused? Okay, let me explain it to you in simple words. To give you an idea, let's compare the size of a string with the size of an atom. If an atom were magnified to the size of the whole observable universe, then a string would only be the size of a tree.